more in what they see them do than in what they hear them say. I do not know whether I ever told you this story, but I think I did. But forgive me if I do it again. It is a marvelous story, exactly telling what I want to say to you. Really happened. I was teaching the Dutch children catechism, and at one point of time, I demanded that they would have to say their confession. The parents were not happy about it. They said, no need, no need. I said, if you want me to be your instructor, they have to say their confession. Otherwise you look for another thing. So, in the end we gave in, and the 4 or 5 children I was teaching was a small group. They went to confession, and beautifully done. Because children can be very innocent and very docile. They like the goodness of certain things and the spirit of it, and they did it very well. Well, after that, one boy came out from there, here the parents were. He came out, and he said to his mother, Ma, why don't you go to confession? Well, I was very curious. I pricked up my ears and thought, what is he going to say? Why do you not go to confession yourself? She said, because your mother is a saint. I found that very curious. I'm not a Southpaw. I can appreciate a good joke. But at the same time I thought, with such a saintly mother, the first confession of this boy is also at the same time to be the last confession. Children imitate their parents, even without understanding. If you curse, they will curse. If you do not pray, they will not pray. If you tell lies, they will do the same. On the other hand, very often it is from parents who really practice their faith that the best Catholics come. I remember, and this is my last word about it, with a certain pride, the history of the Dutch missionaries in the 19th century. They came from a very simple or poor peasants who hardly had the means to eke out a living, but were very devout Catholics. And the children of many of these the children became priests and missionaries, and they went all over the world to sow the seeds of God's word, like a swarm of bees almost, thousands and thousands. And do not underestimate the difficulties they had to face. They had to travel sometimes for days through the jungle without the modern means of transport. When they left, it was very often forever. Bye-bye, Father, Mother, they never came back. They didn't know how to preach very often because they didn't know the language. And in certain areas, especially in Africa, every tribe they met had its own language, and they had to learn their own language. You can imagine what sort of communication that was going to be. They were sometimes starving and thirsty, and although they were sturdy boys and girls, their bodies did not have the antidote against the germs of the jungle. In Africa, the average age of a Dutch missionary was 5 years. Average lifespan. The cemetery of priests and nuns, I found one priest who was buried when he was 30 years old, and another one was a nun who had died at the age of 24. Hardly much older than a young girl. What an immensely hard life. And yet, in the end, the missionary work of these men and women had glorious results. Because they had learned at home, in their family, from their own fathers and mothers, first of all, that they should never give up. And that there is nothing greater and holier in the service of the Lord than to follow Him radically, even if needs be to the point of death. That is the sort of Catholics that came from these fathers and mothers. They did what they did because of the education they had received at home, mainly. May our parents be somehow a bit of the same quality. That is what we hope and pray.